Welcome into another edition of the BlueWhite Tailgate podcast. Andrew Klissa, Mike Gross of the Gross Rational Product, and Frank Bodani of the York Daily Record. Make sure you're following them on social media, and don't be afraid to reach on out to us at BlueWhiteTailgatePodcast@gmail.com. And also like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and also on YouTube. Want to thank the over 5,000 viewers that we had of our post-game breakdown from out in Columbus. Guys, just so you know, I'm not in a basement. I do have light in my house. For some reason, I have switched laptops, and I look like I am in like a dungeon out of a Disney movie. So I apologize for all the people that tune in just to look at me, because obviously that's the most important thing. So Penn State goes down again to Ohio State. That's a script we've pretty much been able to write year in and year out. It's a little jarring, though, with this team, with the expectations of the year. And then that first half, you actually saw glimpses of a team that seemed ready to play, got a break, and they just weren't able to capitalize on the momentum they had going into the half. Frank, your quick takeaway now that we can diagnose this after a couple press conferences and a couple days later.
Well, I mean, they just lack one thing that they haven't had in a while, and that's just playmakers on offense, especially on the outsides. They have none. They have zero in some ways, and then defensively, what we're not used to seeing, no matter who the coordinator is they can't, if they do a little better stopping the run, they get destroyed in the pass game. And I mean, I'm just thinking it's an overall effect at this point where I'm just not seeing these players coming together with the kind of urgency overall that you would hope, maybe even expect a team that's had some bad fortune thrown at them. I still don't see really the full game urgency. And I don't know at this point, I guess you hope something clicks in. But that's the biggest problem to me is I don't see the guys playing up to their level of talent on either side of the ball.
It really is. It continues to be astounding. I think we're all amazed and trying to figure it out. And just another little brick in the wall here. I mean, we've been hearing now for going on 2 months about these freshman wide receivers, Kobe Howard and redshirt freshman Tyseer Denmark, and they go about it the right way and they work hard in practice and they're competitors, and we're going to see more of them. We're going to see more of them, and we don't see more of them. I'm not saying this is the most important element, but it's just like I said, it's just another bizarre thing. And Terry was asked about this on Monday, and he said, well, they haven't learned the offense. Well, they've been in the offense longer than the transfer portal wide receivers have been. Because, certainly in Denmark's case, because he was here last year.
I was ready to say, like, to Terry, I'm thinking to myself, it's November, man. If they don't know the offense and the playbook well enough by now at wide receiver, I mean, and they... I don't think that, to me, that's not an excuse. And that's just another disconnect, I think, that you're going through. Because look, who caught the only passes downfield the last 2 games? There's been like 2, other than if you consider Liam Clifford's catch. But Kobe Howard, long gain against Iowa, long gain against Ohio State. And we never see him for more than like 10 snaps a game yet. So,
and my point is not to rip Terry Smith.
No,
that's not really what I'm doing. It's just another thing about this that doesn't make sense, and we're all trying to figure it out, and we're not getting any closer.
Guys, we have Trey Bauer coming up later on in the show. He's going to take us inside from a little bit of players' perspective and a letterman's perspective of what's going on with the Penn State football program. Let me throw a scenario out to you. Frank Howard is an offensive line assistant. He retires. Old school coach, maybe a coach that would get after players a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. There's been a lot of talk online about J1 Siders going to Notre Dame and Stan Drayton coming in. I'm going to say J1's a better coach. Stan's a very good coach. They're 1A and 1B, maybe 1A, 1C. That doesn't explain the difference in offensive production. An offensive line assistant leaving and a new running backs coach coming in. But I want to throw this out there. Andy Kolonicki's paid more than Stan Drayton and Frank Howard, whoever replaced Frank Howard. Andy Kolonicki is one of James's right-hand guys because of the totem pole and the offensive coordinator related to the head coach. Terry Smith, the OG, as Franklin would say, is on the defensive side of the ball, not really involved in those meetings. But J1 was very close to James. That if somebody was going to say something and have an idea, if J1 chimed in, everybody's going to listen. Stan is a new guy. Early on in the season, maybe doesn't know his place. Maybe he's not comfortable speaking up about, hey, Nick Singleton needs to have the ball more in space, Andy. You keep kind of getting him up the middle. Patron needs to be the guy going up in the middle, using the feet, the vision, things like that. Are we just maybe overthinking it, that these departures from a coaching staff room is actually where that disconnect is coming from?
Well, that's entirely possible, but I would argue that the best programs in the country clear these kind of hurdles without even losing a step. That's entirely possible. I'm not dismissing what you're saying at all, but that's a problem that you got to be able to solve among the gazillion moving parts in a big time college program.
Yeah, this team to me, is there some coaching disconnect? Sure. I mean, did they miss Frank Leonard on the offensive line? Yeah, because I think he could be the guy that demanded you did every little thing right and kept it in place. All right. And maybe they needed that. But this team has shown that they maybe not only could not handle expectations, but cannot handle when things go wrong or when things get tough. And I think it might go, Trey Bauer talking about the team being maybe not tough. And I see what he's saying. I mean, I think it's the fact of, hey, this locker room, everybody's getting an even, we're worried about paying everybody the same and keeping people satisfied. Hey, man,
that isn't a big element here.
This is 2025, and you can't be kumbayaing around making everybody happy, because when things get hard, you got to have people that are going to step up and kick ass, right? And I'm thinking this is not maybe the right, I don't know if it's the right approach for Penn State. I don't think it's the right approach for what Pat Kraft wants. I think Pat Kraft wants, you got to keep Penn State's traditions and ideals, but we got to play the game to some degree the way Ohio State's playing the game, okay? And I don't think maybe the way they built this team, that this team is tough enough that these guys are able to withstand some misfortune, because it just looks like a team that's kind of crumbled. And now Terry's literally, they're trying to just hold it together, hold it together.
I made the argument after the Illinois game, the 9 overtime game, where Sean Clifford was playing injured. I thought he should have sat out. I thought that was miscalculation on James's part. And he took a dirty late hit, and it wasn't flagged. And I remember asking James in the post game, James, were you disappointed that nobody came to your quarterback's defense? I wasn't advocating for a flag, like a late hit or anything like that. That should have been done by the ref, but it wasn't. I know this. I talked to Matt Stankiewicz, and I asked him, like, what if that would have happened to Matt McGloin? Yeah, somebody on that 2012 team would have been there to have Matt McGloin's back. It didn't happen with Sean Clifford. Another incident kind of happened where Caleb Downs, I'm not going to call it a pure dirty hit because I don't know what's going through Caleb Downs' mind, but it was targeting. Caleb Downs should not be playing in the first half of a football game this week. That's definite. The Big Ten offense needs to explain itself. It's Chicago. Chicago doesn't like to explain anything, whether it's related to football offices, mob bosses, anything. So somebody on Penn State needed to step up and go down there and get Khalil Dinkins and get in somebody's face. That could have been a galvanizing moment. I'm not advocating for a flag. I'm not advocating for a push and shove. Terry Smith was asked about that, and he kind of dismissed it much like James did, and I understand a coach dismissing it. To me, that's appalling that nobody stuck up for Khalil Dinkins to get down there. What are your guys' thoughts?
We were talking about that on the ride home, and it kind of dawned on me. I kind of agree with what you're saying, Andrew. And, you and I were standing right there. This happened maybe 30 feet away from us. We were on the sidelines then. And that was a dangerous, again, you don't know what's in Downs' head, as you said, but it was a dangerous, violent play. And I was surprised that there wasn't just in the initial instant more reaction from Penn State's kids. And I asked Terry about that. I think it kind of irked him a little bit because I could have worded the question a little bit better. I wasn't advocating let's start a fight, but yeah, I think that's a really fair point, and maybe this is more about the makeup of this team than the physical ability of this team. I think that's what we're slowly evolving toward in trying to figure this mess out.
There was no heat from the sideline. Just real quick, Frank, there was nothing. Like you and I were standing there. There were no yelling. And Pat Kraft was right next to us. Dow Clark was like 10 feet away from us. And like those guys were more animated than the players. Like,
yeah, but maybe it should be, but does it surprise you that there wasn't at this point? Because, there's some people that would say when they lost to Oregon, I'm not saying this is a blanket statement is correct, but when they lost, they put so much into that Oregon game, though to me, in some ways, it didn't look like they did, but that when they lost that game, they packed it in. Some guys, maybe not knowingly or deliberately, but maybe mentally and packed it in because look at the effort overall that they gave the next week. Okay. That was in some ways disgraceful. If you're a Penn State former player, to me, in some ways, that's how your response is, that you go 3,000 miles away and you, no matter what you want to say, look unprepared and fall behind 27-7 in a stadium that's a half filled against an winless team. That's your response. You have everything to play for you at that point in the season. You have one loss, everything to play. So when that team responded that way, and then the following week, I almost don't expect anyone to step up in that moment with Caleb Downs.
Yeah,
I'd have been surprised if they would have.
And to be honest with you, it's maybe they are too nice, and we're gonna hear that as we talk to Trey Bauer. And these are all nice guys. They're all great for us to talk to. They really are. And the video playing on your screen right now is Big Vega hopping over the railing. Thanks to Mark Brennan, he captured this great moment. Has over 5 million views around the world. Has gone viral. He hops over to help a teammate, a manager, push up a heavy equipment thing up the steep hill of the Ohio Stadium tunnel. And that's happening.
I thought that was a pretty athletic move, jumping over that barrier the way he did for a 330-pound guy.
Also dangerous because he's going on the slick concrete right there, which jumped off the area you're designed to walk up. But he's doing that there, and it's just mind-boggling that it needed to be done from somebody on the defensive side, on the sidelines, to get some type of energy into this team when that hit was happening. That hit could be a moment that galvanized this team going forward, and I think it's an opportunity lost for Penn State. The other thing is defensively, Terry made the comment that with this defense, they're supposed to be more gap sound, why they're not getting pressures on the quarterback. There's a lot of big gaps out there, and when you have big gaps in the run game, and then you have wide receivers absolutely blowing past safeties and corners with ease that we saw the pair from Ohio State do, it's pretty jarring. I mean, how far away is Penn State from competing?
Well, I don't think they're right there with the elite teams at all. But here's the thing: how close are they to being able to beat Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers? For God's sakes, they should be right there, able to beat them. And the only thing I guess I would agree is with Terry is that I could see just somebody lighting a match and this looking better. I mean, not looking better that they're going to beat Ohio State better or maybe even beat Indiana better, but you make a few plays and you build on it and you get a little confidence. To me, the last 3 games are everything for what this team will be remembered for, what this time will be remembered for. And it's not the worst, maybe functional Penn State team that I've seen, but the last 3 games are going to tell the story in a way if they are or not.
Well, there's a story to be told, and one guy who's been around Penn State a long time is former Penn State linebacker Trey Bauer. Thanks to wrapping papered in Conshohocken, the best in the gift-giving experience, former national champion with the Nittany Lions. Trey, how's it going, man? What's going on?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
We're great. We're great.
We're great. Could be a little bit better if Penn State's record was a little better. Get right into it, Trey. When you look at where Penn State is right now, let's just take the last week against Ohio State. What is going wrong with this football team?
I think the lack of confidence, quite frankly. I think unless we all got it wrong. I mean, you don't start the year number 2 or 3 in the country and you're supposed to be pretty good, right? I mean, people talk about greatness and whatever. It's like, well, until you start winning like national championships, like you are what you are, right? But maybe everyone got it wrong. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, they've got talented kids, but they're not producing. So, and that's on them, not on the coaches, by the way.
Yeah,
Not on the coaches, including James Franklin, would you say, Trey?
Well, no, for sure. I mean, I'm a big James Franklin fan. I've always been. I met the guy when his first week he was here at Penn State, and it's like, it's funny. Like, I have like a lot of women in my life. I have my sister, my stepmother who's 83 years old, and I talk to them every week, and they're all like, they're Penn Staters, right? They didn't go to Penn State, but they're like, Trey, like why can't guys tackle people? Like we're the tough guys. Like so they were here when I was here, right? So, and these are women, and not to be sexist, but they're like, well, they don't see the Penn State teams that they're used to seeing. Certainly, like when I played, and I'll leave it at that.
Trey, I want to ask you about that, if I could. Being a
No, you can't.
I'm going to ask anyway.
Let's go.
Not only do you follow Penn State closely, but you played there and you played linebacker. When you bring up toughness, do you see a lack of that from your perspective? Is that something that comes out at you? And is it any different than last year or years prior, what you see on the field now about that word?
Well, I mean, I think to me, it's like certainly obvious. Like they're not, it's kind of like, how do I say this? Like, okay, when I was playing at Penn State, we're playing for 3 national championships in 5 years, right? Right. We're pretty good, right? So, okay, that's the standard. You go, okay, fine. People would I'd meet people on the street and they'd be like, wow, you're like a really nice guy. I'm like, I am a nice guy. But like when you're playing football, you have to be a tough guy, like a mean guy. And that's okay. I mean, it's a right to be mean and tough, whatever, but don't be a jerk off the field. And I think the kids, I mean, all these kids, in my opinion, are like really nice. They're like, you'd want them to date your daughters. They're nice people, they're good citizens or whatever. But it's like football's hard. And you need like tough guys. And I don't think they got many tough guys. That's all I'm saying.
That's interesting.
But there's a disconnect from last year to this year in fans' minds, right? Last year, they're only a few plays away from playing for the national title. And a lot of people would think that maybe the team didn't even look right from the first game this year, no less when they started losing 5 in a row. I mean, does that make any sense to you?
I think, again, unless, I'm like, you've been following Penn State football for what, 40 years? So have I, right? So unless we all got it wrong, and maybe we did, I think that, maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. And, I don't know. I'm not a soothsayer. I'm just saying that I think, I think, I can't believe, what are we, 3-5 now?
Yep.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Lost.
if you would have said we're going to be 3-5 after 8 games coming to the season, and we're number what, 2 or 3 in the country, it's shocking to me. Shocking.
It's shocking to everybody.
Yes. And again, like, I'll get back to my sister and my stepmother, who was 83. Like, the formula is like, you got to put people on the ground and be a tough guy. And I don't think we're very tough. That's all. My opinion.
Trey, you had during your time at Penn State, you
Yep.
had a 6-5 season, and then you immediately turned it around and got back into the national picture the next year. And the narrative that we've been told about that is that Joe really got tough, and he just physically pushed you guys really hard to make it clear that was the 6-5 was unacceptable. So this team the program might be going through something similar, obviously with different coaches and everything next year. What did you learn about turning it around pretty quickly the way you did?
Well, I mean, I think, again, everyone wants to think about Joe as being like the Messiah or whatever. And Joe was obviously, I'm a Joe guy, right? But the fact is, he was loyal to a fault. So if you remember that 84 team, the best guys were on the sideline, including myself. Like, I didn't start in 84. And I was like legit guy. And so if you remember, like, we lost the Pitt in 84, it was like 31-16 or something. And Joe like made this comment about, well, we were a bunch of crybabies on the team. And, so I was the fifth leading tackler, didn't start a game. I'm like, I can't do anything unless I'm playing. And like, it was like a challenge, and he challenged us and, whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's about the players. It's not about unless you're so incompetent as a coach, which I don't think Joe was, obviously. I don't think Bill was, and certainly James. Is like, when they're like, oh, well, the guy can't win the big game. Like, first of all, it's the players. It's not the coach. Like, give me an example. Give me something that, if you were Bill O'Brien or Joe, and remember, like, Joe like had 5 undefeated seasons and 4 undefeated seasons, and they didn't win a national championship until his 16th year. Right. And you go, okay, well, let's look at this like objectively. Like, now, did he have good players? Yeah, he had great players. But at the end of the day, the players have to make the plays. And certainly what's going on at Penn State this year is like, and all the kids are nice. I mean, I'm not saying they're sweet guys. They're not getting in trouble. I mean, thank God, we didn't have cameras around when I was around, because it would be a disaster. But like, but it's on the players to like win the games, and they're not doing it. End of story. Not the coaches. It's not the scheme. It's like, what are you guys doing? That's it.
So Trey, what do you hope to see from the new Penn State head coach? What type of direction does this team program need to go in with their new hire? Do you have any thoughts, or what you're hoping for, or what you see, especially as a former player?
I think for me, it's like, what really upsets me is that, you know, when I was recruited in 1983, a long time ago, it's about the tradition, right? So, and Joe, his recruiting pitch was, listen, we're to give you a shot. Now, back in the day, it was like the redshirt era, right? So it just started like a year or so before me, right? But it's like, are you gonna be are you gonna give me a chance to like play? Yes. Okay. The best guy's gonna play. Fine. You're gonna get a great education, which I got, which I love Penn State. I live in State College, right? And the other thing is like, well, if you're any good, and Joe would say this, like, if you're a good player, you're gonna get a shot playing in the NFL. And you go, okay, I'll take that shot. You know, um, I think the thing is like we were different because it wasn't every year, and I think that as a Penn Stater, and I love Penn State, and I love Pat Kraft is great. I just think that we're different than everybody else. And maybe it's like me being arrogant or, thinking about the past, but like we're not Southern Cal, we're not LSU, we're not Bama, we're not Georgia. I mean, like, okay, talking about Georgia, like, okay, well, Kirby Smart, great coach, right? You know what the graduation rate is for Georgia right now? Does anyone know?
I do not.
It's like 34%. And I said this to Bill, and I said this to James when I had personal dinner with both those when they first got here, the first week they were here. I go, listen, Penn State's different. Now, if you bring the wrong kids in here and they get in trouble and they don't graduate, you're getting fired, dude. That's it. Right? I mean, that is it. And last I checked, I mean, we haven't gotten too many guys in trouble. Like when I was playing, we had a lot of guys in trouble. But Joe kind of, put you in your place and whatever. And the kids are graduating now. So it's like, well, are we Southern Cal or are we A&M or are we Penn State? And to me, like, I don't really care. I mean, I want to be different than everybody else. And I don't know how Pat's going to fix that, quite frankly.
Sure, I had a conversation, and I probably even shouldn't say it because technically, I guess I'm not allowed to have conversations with players' parents and family members. But I happen to be staying in a hotel. People are eating breakfast next to me, wearing a Penn State shirt. I'm gonna chat them up. Some
Yep.
things were said to me, and the one thing that was said to me by a parent was, I don't know how the next head coach is going to be able to recruit Penn State the way James did, because in the dismissal press conference, this parent said to me, it was laid bare that this is now a business. It's more results oriented, NFL driven, which we've always known college football was going this way.
Sure.
But he said James recruited based on the family. And this is a player that has gone to national championship programs for visits before they came to Penn State. So with that being said, and you say Penn State is different and kind of going off of that, is Penn State, are turbulent waters ahead for Penn State until they find that adjustment to get back? Because we have a parent here of a player saying James recruited differently and that's why the guys came here, and now it's more business related, and that was said from the top man in the program, and it's going to take a while to formulate down through.
That's a great question, Andrew. And again, you're not like, Socrates or anything, but you're a pretty smart guy. But yeah, right. And I love you, you know that. But I think that it's like, growing up, right? Like you would talk to your dad, and your dad would say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, I don't know, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a fireman. I want to be, whatever. It's like, so for Penn State, it's like, well, here we are. What do you want to be? And I don't know. I don't know, like, what we want to be. I mean, people say, well, you look at Penn State the last, well, certainly James, what, 12 years, like last 10 years, say, right? We've had like great NFL players. We've got like Hall of Fame guys. But at the end of the day, they're in the NFL. And how many national championships have we played for? I mean, in my opinion, the best Penn State team over the last, I don't know, 30 years is the 94 team with Goon and Kerry Collins and Kajana Carter and all these guys, right? And they're like legit guys. I mean, that was the best college football team. I mean, we'd have beat their ass for sure. But, we talk about this all the time. So I just think like when you're talking about like what is Penn State football, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like I said to my dad, right? I don't know, like Joe would say, all right, every 4 or 5 years, we're going to have like really good players. We're going to be in the conversation. And now it's like, well, you're not, you're graduating your players. The kids are not getting in trouble, right? They're doing some stuff. And, to me, I don't know. I don't know who we're going to get as a head coach. I have a couple thoughts. But
What's your thoughts? Who would you like? Do you have a thought on that?
I have a couple thoughts. So, as the Penn Stater, I think it's got to be someone's got to have the same alignment as, it used to be back in the day, which is like get good guys in here. They're going to graduate. They're going to be good players or whatever. I think, you can go back to like no one's talking about, in my opinion, who was like one of my recruits was Al Golden. Like that guy's legit guy, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're saying to me, like our ultimate goal, which I don't agree with this per se, is national championship or bust, it's Urban Meyer for sure. And by the way, he should have been the head coach when Joe got run out, which was disgraceful by as far as I'm concerned. So you got let me finish. So it's like, okay, Urban Meyer is like what I'm 61. He's like my age, right? You bring him in here for 5 years, you'll definitely win a natty in 5 years. He brings in Brian Hartline, and he's the next guy for the next 25 years. How about that? Is that what you want to do? Okay, fine.
Do you have some insider information that might be able to happen?
All right. Well, if I told you this, I have to kill you. But no, I no, I don't. I just, there are, obviously as a Penn State guy and guy who's been here and in-state college and whatnot, is like you can go, I think 3 routes, right? So it's like get over Meyer. The guy's won national championships. Unless you get Nick Saban, he's too old. You don't want him, right? And I love Nick Saban, but he's not the guy, right? You bring in like a mid-level, coordinator, like a Signetti. Like the guy was like nowhere, right? Right. James Madison, he's gone to Indiana. He's done great things, whatever. Like a guy like that, right? And he's going to stay there because they give him like whatever, $12 million a year. Or you go like really young. When I say young, I mean like really young. Right. There's a guy, the quarterback coach at Ohio State, Billy Fessler, who's a Penn State guy. He's 30. How about him? Give him a shot. I mean, how about that? Like why not?
So you would say like kind of bring in like an Urban and then have one of those maybe like young guys come in like a Billy Fessler, learn a little bit under him, and then take over a program?
Yes, no, I'm saying no, not even no, it's 3 separate things, Andrew. Okay. So it's like you bring in Urban, right, with Brian Hartline, right? I mean, like obviously it's about, well, not about money, but these guys, they work like 1,000 hours a week, so they have no life. The money is whatever. You pay Urban Meyer, I don't know, $15 million a year. Brian Hartline will be the offensive coordinator at Penn State. And in 5 years' time, he'll be the head coach. That's the first scenario. Second scenario is you bring a guy in who is like a Signetti guy who, at a smaller school, whatever, or a defensive offensive coordinator, right? And you bring him in and let him run a show, or you bring in like Billy Fessler, who he's a 30-year-old guy. Like, why not? I mean, if you remember last year, right, when Penn State played Notre Dame in the semifinals, and James said some of that, like the guy from Notre Dame, and the guy's like 37, 30 years old. Like, well, yeah, well, it's a young man's game. Why not? I mean, again, if we want to be in the national conversation, everything is on the table at this point.
Trey, I think you're friendly with Pat Kraft.
I love Pat.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I mean, like you talk to him and you're around.
Yeah.
Him. Yeah. So where do you think he falls on the spectrum? This is a career-defining hire for him. Where do you think he falls on the spectrum of we got to do it the Penn State way and graduation rate, etc., and national championship or bust? Where do you think he falls on that spectrum?
I can only say, like, I'll tell you this. The first time I met Pat Kraft, I was like, he's the guy. Like, he knows Penn State football. And it was we had an event at the Penn Stater, and it was very interesting. And I'm like, who's this guy? Like, I had no idea who the guy was. And it was an event we were at, and he was here like, I don't know, 2 weeks. And I remember talking to my friend, and I said, you know what? This guy gets it. He just gets it, right? So, I mean, I don't know if you know about Pat or like what he did, but he played football at Indiana. And by the way, they stunk. They were terrible. Indiana's a basketball school. Well, guess what? They're a football school now. You know what I mean? So, you think like in 2 years how it transformed itself, and they had the support of the administration. They've got the NIL, they got the money. Well, guess what? That's Penn State too. So, I mean, if I had to guess, I think he's got to fix it fast, right? And by the way, I mean, he and James were very close. So that was it was a very hard decision for Pat Kraft. Very hard.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so now we're going to be Southern Cal or A&M or whatever. It's like national championship or bust. Okay. Well, now we're not just Penn State. We're like everybody else, in my opinion. But
I got you.
Frank, anything?
Well, my question is, can you do both though? I mean, can Pat simply keep some of the traditions, but maybe it's just, this is an NIL money age. So you have to kind of shepherd that in a different way, but it doesn't mean you can't bring in Penn State guys, right? Maybe. I mean, maybe there's a way to kind of navigate both sides here a little bit.
Oh, Frank, I mean, you've been following Penn State football for what? What, you're in York, like what, 40, 45 years?
No, not since 1994. First year on the beat was 1994.
Oh, like you're young. I thought you were old like me, but
no, I just look. Sorry.
No, I mean, I think that would be a perfect scenario. I think that Penn State has a cachet, right? Where me being an older guy, I'm the oldest guy probably here. Andrew, you're like 12, but whatever. I think that like Penn State is different than everybody else. you know, and it would be like not even national brand, but it's like international, where you've got people who love Penn State. You know, I was on the phone earlier today with some friends that have never been to a Penn State game. I'm like, oh, really? And they're like, you know, New York Giant fans and Yankee fans, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're up to. Like, they're gonna come this weekend, right? So I got like 1 million people coming to town, and I think that, you know, I think that Pat will figure it out. I have a lot of trust in Pat, and he has literally not unlimited resources, but pretty much. And I'm excited for Penn State football, quite frankly. And I feel bad for the kids this year, but that's on them. It's not on James. It's not on, I mean, Terry Smith was my teammate. The guy's like a brawler. He's awesome. And he says stuff, and you go, I'm like, he was like a freshman when I was a senior. I'm like, this guy was like on the scout team, getting his head handed to him every game or every day in practice, and became a captain, and, you know, played the NFL for a stint, and, you know, was a great, you know, high school coach and athletic director, been at Penn State, you know, the entire time at, you know, with James. I'm like, he is awesome. But he's not playing. The kids are playing, and put it squarely on the players. That's it.
Trey, you and your teammates in a fantasy land are invited into the locker room to give a 2-minute speech to this team before going out and playing Indiana. We don't know what the crowd's going to be like. It could be welcoming. It could be hostile. Literally
Yep.
in Beaver Stadium. It could be. What is your 30-second speech part of it to these guys, to get these guys to come together and to actually put the pieces together that we all thought this team was for one Saturday here in November?
I would say, Andrew, that again, on any given day, you never know what's going to happen. I would say that most guys, like I would say to the kids, right? Most of you will never play football again once your career is over at Penn State. You may have, again, like if there are 100 guys at Penn State football or 120, you can have 5, 6, 8 guys playing in the NFL. They'll play for a cup of coffee. A couple guys will be really good, but, you know, you need to play for yourself and play for your brother, right? Like the guy who is like literally spent all their life getting to this moment, and play for each other. That's it. Like it's nothing more, nothing less. I mean, I think that we certainly have the talented kids to do it, and they're all nice, like I said. But like, you're going to have so many Saturdays in your life, and then it's over. And I think that, you know, as young kids, I mean, I got 5 kids, like, I mean, and they're old, a little bit older now, but, you know, you only have so many opportunities in your life to do something. Take advantage of it and grab it and take it and just kick ass. That's it.
Well, I hope they listen to you, because this team doesn't play like it has quite that drive in them. Because, hey, we've had other teams, you've seen other teams that have things go their way and they find a way to pick it up, to conquer it, to fire back. And I just don't think I've really necessarily as a group seen that yet. So maybe they need you in there about 10:30 a.m. on Saturday.
Well, I mean, I'll have a Bloody Mary and I'll be
There you go.
misbehaving, but that's
Okay.
fine. And you know what? Maybe they need that. I don't know, but they want to go there.
Are you in the Letterman's lot tailgating, or where are you at, Trey?
I kind of bounce around a little bit.
Of course you do. Yeah.
It was funny. I went to go into the game last year. It was a game last year. I'm trying to think of what game it was, but I didn't have my credentials, and I was like, you know, embarrassed. So I call Wally Richardson, who's, you know, the guy's awesome, you know, head of the Letterman Club. He's like, well, just tell him who you are. I'm like, no. And then he comes down and, it's like this whole big thing. And the guys are like my age or a little bit younger than me. The security guys are like, why don't you just tell us you were Trey Bauer? Because I gave my license, Charles Andrew Bauer the third. Right? I'm third Charles. That's why I'm Trey. And he's like, the guys are like, why don't you just tell me it was you? I'm like, well, I'm not playing that card.
I use that card.
What's that?
I say I'm Trey Bauer all the time. Can't you see the resemblance?
First of all, there's no way you're doing that, dude. That's not happening. You think it's going to happen. It's not happening. But I just think, again, I think football comes down to like a handful of things. It's like controlling the line of scrimmage, tackling, right? And again, is like guys, your playmakers, your best guys making plays at the biggest moments. And we have not been able to do that. And when we were really good, like playing for natties, like that's how it was. I mean, you'd have guys like doing stuff, and all of a sudden, oh, DJ Dozier is going to make a play. Oh, John Schaefer, who's a dear friend of mine, is going to make a throw in the Notre Dame game, like with literally, and hasn't completed a pass the entire year, throws a 60-yard pass to Ray Roundtree. You go, well, okay, well, the best players in the biggest moments make the plays.
Can't say it better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, Trey Bauer, former Penn State linebacker and national champion. Trey, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yep. God bless, guys. See ya.
We want to thank Trey Bauer for coming on the show. And also, you'll notice a little bit lighting difference in the second half of this episode. We're all getting used to daylight savings time or whatever. Turn the clocks back. We got to make some adjustments here. Maybe the United States will get rid of it. Who knows? It's a big push in the political world. Guys, I want to play a soundbite, and this jumped out to me. Frank, you were there. Mike, you were there. It's Amari Campbell after the game, and it's basically, what is it going to take to get Penn State out of this tailspin, especially defensively, as Terry Smith alluded to. Hey, we were 3 plays away from getting the ball back with a chance to take the lead against Ohio State. So this is Amari Campbell after the game about what has to happen to get Penn State out of this tailspin.
Trying to take every player on the field, 11 guys all doing their job. Too many times there's 10 guys doing their job, 9 guys doing their job, and that just doesn't cut it. We need all 11 to be doing their job every play. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we need every guy to do their job. So when you need everybody to do their job on a play and one guy doesn't do the job, and sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes we can have people not do their job on a play and we can stop the play. But when we do it where when one person doesn't do their job and they exploit where the guy has to do their job, then that's what all is. So
that was a pretty jarring comment to me. I felt like Amari Campbell wanted to say something else. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. How did you guys take it?
Well, the fact that he went back a couple times to not everybody's doing their job. To just say that once, well, that's easy to say. That's not that big a deal. But the fact that he came back to it over and over, I think he's enormously frustrated. I think he's playing his ass off. I think he thought he was getting into a situation here where they'd be competing for everything, and it's fallen well short of that, and he's kind of dazed and confused. So yeah, that was kind of a telling comment, series of comments from him.
I think he's pissed off. Translation: I can't believe at this point in the season against this opponent that we still have guys that are not giving the effort or don't know where to be and are screwing this up. Maybe a different one or two every damn down, right? Yeah. I think that's about what he's frustrated. Zachy Wheatley, right before that, said something like, "Hey, when you come to Penn State to play cornerback, this is what you expect to go against. This is what you want."
Yeah.
So basically, meaning for you to give that effort, I don't understand it. I mean, he didn't come out and rip on anybody, on his teammates in particular, but you almost saw this bewilderment, like, I can't believe we just showed that. I can't believe we just had guys getting beat up and down the field. The fastest Penn State secondary probably ever so-called speed-wise, and Ohio State just running past them over again and over again.
And Terry Smith said on Monday, it's kind of like these guys are trying to jump the route. What? Trying to jump the route? You got to get on your back pedal, he said, and make sure they don't get behind you, rather than thinking about jumping the route. So maybe there's some disconnect.
Well, they jumped the route last year, and Zion Tracy did, and it worked out for a pick six. And
one play,
it's like maybe they're trying to be heroes at this point to some degree. They think they know what Ohio State's running. They're getting their shot at Jeremiah Smith. We're going to make a big play. We're going to turn this around.
Might be it.
Made them look foolish.
That goes to what that soundbite to me goes to what Trey Bauer just talked about. That ultimately a lot of the responsibility comes down to players, especially in this modern era where we have the player empowerment era in the NBA, NFL. It's creeped into college. That maybe Pat Kraft's thinking is James has lost the locker room in terms of instilling this team to like mold together. And that's the reason for the move. And we've talked about maybe Pat and James had this agreement like, hey, if it's going to get really bad, you're going to help me out by getting rid of me earlier. We don't know about that, what went on in discussions. I still contend it's a possibility. But Amari Campbell basically says what Trey Bauer says is it comes down to the players. It's not confusion. It's not communication. It's guys just simply not doing their job. Now, offensively, I have a whole different set of problems where apparently you have a better chance of completing a pass if you put 4 out of 5 eligible wide receivers all within a 15-yard box. Maybe it gets batted around and a wide receiver comes down with it. I'm not sure, but that seems to be the offense Penn State's running right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the wide receivers in the passing game, I mean, we've been batting this around for 2 months, and it remains a mystery. Obviously, they're playing with a very inexperienced backup quarterback, and that's part of it. Again, why aren't these young receivers playing? That's another piece of this.
Yeah, how about the fact that, these guys maybe can't get open? We've seen it for 2-3 years on their own with the way, say, Ohio State's receivers can get open, but you're supposed to have an offensive coordinator that can help scheme them to help this offense, to help this quarterback. How can there not be one of these 3 tight ends that can get open 7 yards down the field on a regular basis? They're all 6'4" and 5. How can you not scheme to help that happen? Because throwing 5 bubble screens to your wide receivers isn't going to work. It's not working. So how are you not able to help scheme a couple of these guys open to help Ethan get some confidence rather than just throwing the ball horizontally? Over and over and over again. And if you want to, we saw them with some success loading up the line with 6-7 linemen in the first half. And I just don't remember really seeing that in the second half much at all. It's like, if that could be maybe one of your only strengths, maybe go out and just try to run over this team a little more, this opponent a little more. Maybe, so I don't know. It's just...
Listen to some of these stats receiver-wise. Malik McClain, before joining Penn State, 17 catches for 206 yards, 3 touchdowns at Florida State. At Penn State, 6 catches, 71 yards, 1 TD. Dante Cephas, before coming to Penn State, 48 for 744, 3 touchdowns at Kent State. He was supposed to be the guy. Season with Penn State, 22 for 246. Season before for Julian Fleming, 26 for 270. With Penn State, 14 for 176. Trevor Pena, 84 catches in the ACC from Kyle McCord, 941 yards, 9 touchdowns. With Penn State, 26 catches for 232 yards. And I know that for the last 3 games, you're playing with a backup quarterback. I don't see these numbers changing that much with Drew Aller as the quarterback the way the year was going. And it goes on. Trevor Pena hasn't reached 20 receiving yards in any of the 5 games in the Big Ten, and 80% of Ross's 204 yards occurred against Northwestern and Oregon. These are jarring statistics. And again, it comes back to these guys caught the football at other places.
Well, here's another thing. Caden Saunders, who was a pretty high-level recruit as a wide receiver.
Yep.
Never done anything in his career, and obviously he's had a lot of injury problems, and he's out right now. Anthony Ivy, kid from my neck of the woods, who was a 4-star recruit, has never gotten any traction as a college player. There's a recruiting piece to this. There's a coaching piece to this, development piece. There's a schematic, I think, piece to this. But it's a mess. It's a mess, and it's not getting any better.
Terry Smith talked about trying to throw the ball downfield. We keep waiting for it. So, guys, you tell me, is this the soundbite that says a play action pass and the ball gone over 15 yards? Is this the week it happens against Indiana?
I'm talking with the offensive staff. We're going to push the ball a little bit further down the field. You know, obviously the stat that's running around is, you know, we had, I guess, 102 yak yards from the game and 145 or so total, which means the ball is still going horizontally. So, you know, we have to develop the play action. We have to develop the intermediate game, which is that 12 to 18 yard range, and just take more shots there. And then obviously, you know, you got to take selective 5, 6, 7 shots vertically down the field. So I have to get it fixed. We will throw the ball down the field this week.
I don't know. How often do you hear a coach put in a position where he has to say, actually, this week we will throw the ball down the field because we don't ever do that or something? I mean,
I feel bad. I honestly feel like Terry Smith is being like marched out there, and just the offensive side of the ball is just not even willing to listen to it.
He's in a tough spot. And I think these statistics, I mean, people say they don't care about statistics. I mean, just think about some of these numbers. They had 145 yards passing in the game, which is a ridiculously paltry figure. And more than 100 of them were yards after the catch. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they had 3 yards per pass. It's unbelievable.
It's almost hard to do. If you said, I want you, Ethan, to complete 11 passes, your first 11 passes, and I want you to have under 90 yards, could you even do that if you tried? Could a quarterback even do? It's almost like you're asking someone in billiards to jump like 3 balls and still make it in. Like, how do you even do that if you're told to do it? And yet they've accomplished it a couple. And Drew Aller had that kind of line, like one of those non-conference. Maybe it was FIU. He was like completing 7 yards. You know, he was averaging like 7 yards of completion or something. It's mind-boggling how. And this is not what any fan expected when they hired Andy Kotelnicki, because we were told he was the one that's going to change all this, adapt to what you have, not his system, adapt and be the mad scientist, play caller, developer, schemer. And it's almost been literally the opposite. It's like we've gone back in time to Iowa 6, Penn State 4 in 2004.
Well, I should point out, though, last year, I believe Aller was over 8 yards per pass attempt for the year. And at one point, his overall passing efficiency was pretty good. Their explosive play numbers last year were pretty good. The contrast from last year to this, under Kotelnicki, which you would think from year 1 to year 2 there would be progress, there's been anything but.
I feel like I lied to Penn State fans. I am negative. I was always negative when it came to James. Always negative when it came to James, especially on some coordinators. I didn't think Kirk Ciarrocca was the guy. I think I may have been the only person that was not on the Mike Yurcich bandwagon. I'm like, he's never called plays. Like, and I was the negative Nancy. And I took a lot of crap early in a lot of season. And I rode Andy Kotelnicki. I'm like, this is a guy that went out of Oklahoma. This is the guy. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot for even saying that.
No, you're not an idiot. Remember, you're Socrates.
Well, that's true. Thank you, Trey. I do appreciate that.
Come on.
All right.
Fernando Mendoza. We just got to go through the game. One more question. Fernando Mendoza, Heisman candidate at Indiana. Can Penn State win this football game with him? I mean, Kirk Cignetti, he knows Terry. They have a relationship. I think it's classy that Kirk reached out to him when Terry got the job, was put in this position. I really do. Indiana has a lot to play for. Penn State has nothing. I mean, is it possible that Penn State actually puts it together and competes in this football game?
It's possible. I don't think it's likely. And I'm done trying to create a psychological argument for Penn State like I did last week. I'm off that bandwagon. They're playing. They're a mess. Indiana is anything but a mess. I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I think you could get a better effort from Penn State and maybe some better fortune for Penn State. The problem is that you're going against a team that is on fire and hungry and a balanced team. And so I think that you could get a better effort from Penn State, but I don't know how much it's going to mean. I mean, it's going to have to take several, couple special teams breakout plays, game-changing plays, turnovers, and not just one or two. I mean, to keep Penn State, I think, in it only because they're going to try to recover against literally what may be in some ways, the best team in the country. That's
certainly offensively, they have been more efficient overall than Ohio State offensively. There's no doubt about that. They are the top-ranked offense in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Penn State fans, this is my one word of advice before we leave here. Kirk Cignetti was not on anybody's coaching board when Indiana hired him. When he was hired, the thought was, you're still going to be Indiana football. It's no better than Ryan. It's just what you are. This is what the Hoosiers are. You don't need to go out and get the big name on the board. Find a match that's going to fit at Penn State, kind of what we were talking about with Trey. So when you're at the game, and if it becomes a track meet for the guys in red and white, look across and say that was somebody that Penn State would not have hired 2 years ago. And that is where you need to hang your hat on for the future of the Penn State football program.
Good luck finding the next Kirk Cignetti in a bottle. So that's the problem, because they wanted a builder. I think they got a great guy. I don't think there's anyone in this world that would think he would have did what he would have done in just 2 seasons. No. That's the thing. So,
yep.
You're 100% right, Frank. So for Mike Gross, with Gross Rational Product, Frank Bodani of the York Daily Record, make sure you're following him on social media. Special thank you to Trey Bauer. Special thank you to Wrapping Paper. We will see you from the field or up high above the Beaver Stadium field after Saturday's contest against the Indiana Hoosiers. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember, like, follow, subscribe. We appreciate it. Have a good one.